The topic that we are going to discuss in our today's tutorial is summary writing. Do you know that many students fail summary section in WAEC and NECO not because they cannot read or understand the passage, but because they don't know the examiner's secret rules? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to pick out the main points and write them in a way that guarantees full marks in your English paper 2. So, if you want that A1 this year, 2026, please don't go away. Watch till the end of this video. Let's get started. Now, what is summary? Summary means a statement, a brief statement or restatement of the main points. A brief statement or restatement of the main points. What do we mean by that? Let's explain these main points very well. Now, when we say main points, we mean the main idea in the passage, the key expression, the information the writer wants you to know in that passage. That is what we mean by main points. To help you more to know what we mean, assuming you are asked to write a composition on causes of road traffic accidents. Now, this is what you do every day. You have your main points in your composition. For example, after explaining your introduction that so many people or millions of people die every year in road traffic accidents, you will now say something like, what are the causes? First, once you mention first, that means you want to give us your main point. First, some drivers drive recklessly. So, some drivers drive recklessly is the main point. You begin to support that main point by telling us how they drive, how they speed on the road, how they overtake carelessly, and other things. You can give the second one that you can say, in addition, drivers also drink before driving, or some drivers drink before driving. You now explain. And you can also say again or furthermore that some drivers overload their vehicle. You explain how it leads to accident. See, the three main points you have given now is that some drivers drive in a reckless way, and another one is that some of them will drink before driving, and they do overload their vehicle. These are your main points. All other things you said after that in that your composition or essay are supporting ideas. They are not included in your summary. It is only that main point that you need to find out and then summarize. That is what we mean by main points. I will tell you more how to identify main points. But meanwhile, let's talk about WAEC's don'ts on summary writing. What is their marking guide like? So let's write them out now. This is WAEC marking guide. Let's explain it very well. The first one is inclusion of extraneous materials, and the penalty is -1. What does it mean? That means you don't include irrelevant material in your answer. This irrelevant material includes your maybe illustration in the passage, the examples in the passage, repetitions in the passage. You don't include them. If you include them in your summary writing, the penalty is -1. The second one is incomplete sentences. And incomplete sentences includes using phrases and subordinate clauses in your writing. Once you use phrases and subordinate clauses in your writing, you have a mark will be deducted from the mark allotted for that particular point. If the mark allotted is 5 marks each, that means what you will get there is 2.5 marks. If it is 6 marks, you will get 3 marks. So you don't use incomplete sentences like phrases. I hope you know what is a phrase. A group of words without a finite verb. And then subordinate clauses, dependent clauses, they don't make complete sense on their own. So don't use them. Use complete sentences. Then the next one is mindless lating. What is mindless lating? When you write word for word, that means you copied everything in that main point. Your penalty is 0. That means you won't get any mark at all from that summary. Then another one is mechanical errors. You must write with grammatical accuracy. Don't commit errors, because if you commit errors, different type of errors, you will score and you will minus half will be deducted from your points. Another one is don't write more than specified number of points. Yes, you are asked to write in 3 sentences, 1 for each. Don't write 4 sentences or more than 4 sentences, because it will affect your points. Okay. Another one is preamble. Taken with the rest of each point must make a complete sentence. What is preamble? Preamble is like an introductory phrase. For example, let me use this example in Oxford English SS1. There it used the preamble. Water can be purified by, okay, let me write it out so that you understand what I mean. Water can be purified by, then I. Remember to use Roman numerals. I, distillation. I, adding chemicals. And filtration. Okay. So, this is the introductory phrase, which is the preamble we are talking about. If you take it with the rest of all these this remaining part of that sentence, you will see that they make complete sense. Let's look at it. Water can be purified by distillation. It's a complete sentence. Water can be purified by adding chemicals. Complete sentence. Water can be purified by filtration. They are all complete sentences. That is what WAEC wants. But if you write something like ways of purifying water include, you now begin to write all this. You are listing. You are not using preamble. Because if you take each one with this, it will not make complete sense. That is why I usually ask my students to stick to sentence method. Although this method is also allowed, but to avoid making mistakes and losing marks, I always tell them to stick to sentences where they use subject and verb. Sometimes with the rest of the sentence, but there must be subject and verb. But this one, if you don't use it well, you will lose a lot of marks. Okay. So the next one, okay, that's it. Now let's look at certain things you need to do in order to get your full marks. I will write the do's on the board now. Now let's look at do's. Those things we need to do in order to score full marks. Okay, remember we are looking for full marks. That is 30-30 or 30/30. So the first one is that you should use your own words. You have to show the examiner that you know what you are doing by using some words to substitute others, like your adjective and verbs. Look for words that you can use to substitute them. That is their synonyms. It will help you to retain the writer's idea so that you don't distort the ideas of the writer. But there is a way you will say it in your own words, then you will lose some of the writer's ideas. But once you substitute synonyms of some of those words, you will retain the ideas. Okay. Another one is be concise. That is, make it very brief. Don't use, like I said before, remove illustrations, repetitions, figures of speech. Don't use them. Also, don't use or. Maybe writing in 2 ways. It is this or this. No, it is not allowed, because it it amounts to irrelevant material, which will cost you 1 mark. The next one is maintain objectivity. That means you should include only the information required in the passage. Even when you know more than the writer in that particular topic, don't be tempted to say what is not in that passage. You must only write on what is on that passage. Then 4, useful grammatical sentences. Like I said before, you don't need phrases and subordinate clauses. Your sentences must be complete. There should be a subject and a verb in your sentence. So make sure that there is a subject and a verb in your sentence. Then write only the main points. Yes, like I told you before, there are ways to get your own main point. Like when you are writing your own composition, I have told you how to get your own point. There are other ways. The writers can help you to get the main point. For example, if the writer said something like, what are the causes? And then the writer now say, first, the writer is somehow leading you to the main point. And when he say in addition, he's also leading you to the main point. It is just left for you to find out exactly the information the writer wants you to get from that paragraph or passage. And another thing is that some writers put their main points in the first sentence of a paragraph. In fact, most writers do that. But few of them will write it at the end or in the middle. But mostly, some of them write at the beginning of the sentence of a paragraph. Okay. Then another one is use Roman numerals when you are writing. You number them with Roman numerals, or maybe A, B. Like sometimes they will give you question A, 3 sentences, question B, 2 sentences. So you can write A, then under it you write I, and so on. Okay, the same thing applies to B. Then remove conjunctions if you have added them in your sentences. Please don't use conjunction. You don't say in addition when you are writing your summary. It may be in the passage, but don't copy them. Don't use again, also, or in addition. Don't use those conjunctions. Go straight to your main point and write in your own sentences. Remember, if you copy words for words, what you will get is 0. You've wasted your time. Don't do that, please. Then there are still some do's. I will want to write them now. Now, the remaining 2. Start your sentences with capital letters and end them with full stop. That means each of your sentences will start with a capital letter and you end that sentence with a full stop. That is what a sentence is all about. You don't start anyhow and at the end you will not put full stop. That means you will be losing mark for mechanical accuracy. And then we also have, I've mentioned this before, your sentences should contain subject and predicate. Your sentences should contain subjects and predicates. What do we mean by that? Subject, you know, is the performer or the doer of an action, or it could be in a state of being. Then predicates, they include the verb and the rest of the sentence. They must be there before it will be counted that you have written a complete sentences. So these are do's and don'ts. Now, I want us to practice summary writing. Let's write summary now to practice it. Now, look at the passage. The use of organic fertilizers is gaining popularity among modern farmers. These natural nutrients improve soil structure, allowing it to hold water more effectively. Furthermore, organic options are free from harsh chemicals, making the harvested crops much safer for human consumption. Now the question, in 2 sentences, 1 for each, say 2 reasons why farmers prefer organic fertilizers. The first one, look at the question. State 2 reasons why farmers prefer organic fertilizer. Now look at my answer. They enhance the ability of the soil to retain moisture. Look at the passage now. These natural ingredients, nutrients, improve soil structure, allowing it to hold water. So you can see improve soil structure and allowing it to hold water. So instead of writing it the way it is, I use enhance to replace improve. They enhance the ability of the soil to retain moisture instead of saying to hold water. That is how to summarize. I paraphrase it this way. Do you understand? Remember I told you you can use synonyms in order to retain the main point or main idea in the passage. Then the second one, they produce healthier crops that are not contaminated by chemicals. Remember here it said, furthermore, organic options are free from harsh chemicals, making the harvested crops much safer for human consumption. And see how I put it. They produce healthier crops that are not contaminated by chemicals. It makes it more safer for human consumption. That means they are not contaminated by chemicals you see in fertilizer that is not organic. So that is how to summarize. Now let's recap what we have said so far. In summary, remember, don't lift. Avoid mindless lifting because it will cost you zero. Don't use phrases and clauses, that is subordinate clauses, because they don't make complete sense, because you will lose half of the marks allotted to that particular question. If you want to use preamble, please make sure that that phrase taken with the rest will make a complete sentence. Otherwise, run away from preamble. There are two methods of writing summary: writing in sentences and using preamble. But if that preamble will make you to lose any mark, please run away from it and use sentences. And make sure that you observe concord, that is agreement between subject and verb. That means as you are writing sentences, there must be a subject and a verb well structured so that you don't commit any grammatical error. And at the same time, don't include irrelevant materials. Those points that are not necessary, leave them behind. Don't include them because you will lose half a mark. And if you commit error, you will lose 1 mark in irrelevant materials. And if you commit error, it will be half. Half will be deducted from your full marks. Okay? So, learn to write in sentences and make sure that you don't include anything that is not supposed to be there. Try to pick out the main points. I have told you how to pick out main points and how to write them. So I wish you the best in your exams. Thank you.